the way that you are budgeting or the way that you are strategizing are going to make a difference in the way that you are growing your business, but they're going to make a difference because they are changing the way you are thinking about time. They're changing the way that you are thinking about money. Welcome to Sincerely Future You, a podcast for female entrepreneurs looking to scale their business by mastering their time, money, and drama. I'm your host, Jess McKinley, founder of What's Happyning Coaching, a life coaching program that helps ambitious women like you make decisions today with the future you in mind. Hi, Hapsters. I am in such a good mood today. I am coming off of a weekend where I was able to see people that I haven't seen in a really long time. My friend Sarah just got married in the city. And, amidst COVID, these events that are full of love are just so fun to be a part of. It just reminds you that life is real outside of the virtual space. And we went to the Tavern on the Green. And I was able to actually see a friend of mine from Argentina who I haven't seen in a while. The girl who got married, we bartended together in Spain back when we were studying as students there. And the other friend of ours, Zarina from Argentina, that's so fun to say, she was a regular customer of ours there. She was also studying and she would come to the bar and we all just stayed in touch. And it was so great to see each other and we were having so much fun. And I was on my way there and I'm like thinking about my business and just thinking about the mastermind because it's been like so much of my commitment outside of my clients. It's basically all I'm focusing on is my goals within this mastermind. It's stretched me so much. And while I'm thinking about it, as I'm like standing in line, like a cab line in New York City, busy New York City, I hear Jess. And I turn around and there's this girl that I met in Mexico at the mastermind. There's 85 of us from all over the world. And this girl is not even from New York. She just happened to just get into New York for the weekend as well. I live in Long Island, like an hour away, and I'm rarely in the city. And we shared a cab together. So I just want to remind everybody that your thoughts are so magnetic. You don't have to do any one particular thing. No post is going to bring you the person or the client that you need. No Facebook ad, or you don't need to do anything other than become the person that you need to be to attract the people you need into your life, whether that's a client or whether that's a friend or whether it's a relationship. Your thoughts hold more weight and power and energy than any how in the process. Okay, so I'm going to give you lots of process along the way in this show, but all of my processes are intentionally designed to bring up your thinking and so that we can coach on that, because really that's what is going to make a big shift in your business. And yes, scheduling is so important. And yes, the way that you are budgeting or the way that you are strategizing are going to make a difference in the way that you are growing your business, but they're going to make a difference because they are changing the way you are thinking about time. They're changing the way that you are thinking about money. Okay. And so yes, my processes work, but so do a lot of other processes. And I'll say this time and time again. Yes, I think my processes are the best, but they're not the only ones out there. And I would never just like say that another process doesn't work. And if someone comes to me and they're like, oh, I tried this process and that process didn't really work, I'm thinking yours might work for me. I'm like, red flag. It's not about the process, really, right? It's about your thinking. And if you think something outside of you is going to change that for you, it's going to change your results, you're going to be like heartbroken time and time again. You're chasing the wrong thing. So I just had this fun experience of running into my friend Jennifer Brown, who just like, I'm so glad she recognized me through the mask and everything. I think it's the blonde streak in my hair, right? A little unusual. But yeah, I was just reminded about how magnetic our thoughts are because I was literally thinking about my breakout group and there she is, like right there. So make sure, just monitor what you're thinking right now because it might feel innocent. It might feel like, oh, I'm just like, oh, I don't want this thing to happen, or I'm worried that this is going to happen. You're attracting it. And I'm not even just saying in the way that the law of attraction works, whether you believe in that or not. I'm saying it in the way that your thoughts create your feelings, which drive your actions, which produce your results, but also in the law of attraction way too. So, okay, let's shout out the Hapster of the week, and then we'll dive into something that I keep being asked, which is, how do I know when to make a really big investment in my business, or if it's just reckless to spend that certain amount of money? And there is a set of questions I want you to ask yourself to know which place you're in, whether it's reckless or whether it's smart. Okay. But the Hapster of the week this week is Stacy. Stacy is a photographer, and she has actually dabbled in a couple of different businesses, but after pandemic and the adoption of her beautiful baby boy, she is getting back into her long love of photography, and she's so talented. So I am grateful. The world should be grateful that she's deciding to dive back into this. I'm actually myself going to be signing up for a little mini session for Christmas. We're going to do a little photo shoot, but I'm shouting her out this week because when we take a break from something, or when we go a long time without doing something, like I know I stopped doing my email series for about a year. And then I was like, oh God, like all these thoughts, like people are going to be like, oh, where have you been? And like, do I have to re-intro myself in such a profound way? She had all of these thoughts about what people were thinking about her being out of the game for so long. Right. And I'm like, nobody cares. Like nobody is thinking anything about where you've been or what you've been doing. Everybody's just thinking about their own lives and about themselves. And at the end of the day, our job is just to go out there and make offers to people to solve a problem that they need solving, or to provide value that they agree is valuable. And then there's a transaction of money made. Like that is it at its core. It's that simple. And when we're too busy thinking about what other people are going to be thinking and feeling about us, we're not showing up in service. And when I brought this to her attention, I said, like, we just got to get it done. You have to believe that you are able to provide an amazing, fun family photo shoot experience that could typically be really stressful and full of tears at Macy's. So like, you're welcome, right? When you're offering this, right? You have to show up in that you're welcome energy. We've talked about this on the show before. And so when I offered this to her, she was a little bit hesitant. She was like, okay, yeah, but, and her brain still had lots of excuses. But what did she do? She practiced the thought. She practiced being like, you know what? This will be fun for everyone. I know how to make this fun. I know how to make this valuable. I know that I can provide an amazing shoot. Like this is a simple thing that I have done many times before. And it doesn't matter how long it's been since my last actual professional. I've actually still been shooting without marketing it. Like it doesn't really matter. And she practiced the new thought, and slowly but surely it became her real thought. And she was able to, we set a goal, and she was able to book half of the slots in her goal with one post. And when I tell you that this only happens, you guys, when your thoughts are dialed in, like you don't have to overwork to try and compensate and get the results back. You can get results quickly. The more dialed in your thoughts are, the more in touch you are with the service that you're providing. The more you're thinking about the solution and the value than you are thinking about yourself and the obstacles in the way, right? So shout out to Stacy for getting out of her own way, like is the goals of all Hapsters, right? By removing our thoughts that are really keeping us from being the best providers of whatever our industry is. And Stacy is doing that for all of us in these upcoming months. And I cannot wait for you guys to receive my Christmas card if you're a personal friend, or if you're not, like become a Hapster, because I'm going to send all y'all my Christmas card. You better be ready. It's going to be good. And now let's talk about investing. Okay. So I've made lots of business investments. At this stage, let's do some quick math. I think I'm almost 100K worth of investments in the last 4 years into my business. That's actually fun. Let's just take a moment for that. 100K that I've spent on my business in the last 4 years. That might to you guys sound like, why are you like excited about that? Wouldn't it be better if it was less money? No. How cool is it that I get to be such a badass that I'm making so much money that I'm also investing that much money into my business? Like, I'm so proud of that. Just like, yes, it's tears, right? So it's just like, it's a milestone for me. So, but that number in terms of like what I invested this year versus last year versus the year before versus the year before has grown exponentially. And it's because I've cracked the code on how and when I can trust what I'm investing in. I used to like really hem and haw over whether the investment was smart or not. And I see a lot of you guys coming to me or setting up mini sessions and really going in wanting it, but just not knowing if it's the right timing, quote unquote, or if it's smart for you right now. So I want you to ask a couple questions. Like, I'm not one of those people that believes that you should always invest in coaching. Yes, I believe it can help anyone, but I do believe that until you've fixed these three things, you should not be investing. So here's when not to invest. Number one, when you are making an investment that's going to freak you out to the point of paralysis and disconnection. So it doesn't really matter what the number is. My very first investment, I think, was $3,500. And then I invested $5,000 in a coach. And then I invested, in a web design that was like $2,500, then another one that was $5,000, right? Like, it doesn't really matter when it was $18,000 for the life coach school or $25,000 for the mastermind. At whatever stage, what paying that amount of money is doing to you. So like, if your thoughts are all over the place, like, okay, cool, I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm just going to do it. And then you're going to freak out and you're going to paralyze and you're going to like back up. You're going to distract yourself and you kind of know that that's where you're at. You're not ready. I don't want you to ever put yourself in this situation. Like it's a big decision to spend thousands of dollars on your business, but it's never about whether that decision is like whether you have that money in your bank account or you have it in excess or you have to take out a loan or any of that. All of those situations could still be smart choices, but you still need to be able to take massive action once you've done the investment. So if you know that it's going to put you into paralysis or you're going to like freak out afterwards, then don't do it. Do it so that once you do it, even if it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel like you want to throw up, that's perfectly normal. I feel like I want to throw up a little bit around every time I spend money that I've never spent before. Right. And every time I do it, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's get to work. Right. So if that's the attitude afterward, you're here for it. But if it's going to freak you out to the point of paralysis, don't do it. Number two, when you've recently invested in another program or another investment and haven't made the time to watch, learn, or apply it. So I see a lot of you guys out there as kind of like serial investors, and you're like, okay, I bought this program and I bought that training and I invested with this coach, but then you're not even like watching the modules or you're not doing the thing. And you're just like, oh, like you get shiny object syndrome and you're like, you get that Instagram ad and you're like, oh my God, this person would solve all my problems. Just do yourself the service of applying whatever you've done already, because how you've been showing up. And it doesn't mean that if you've done that in the past, like 5 years ago, you did that and you didn't watch that one video and now it's no longer relevant to you. Doesn't mean that you can't invest now. Like I definitely have done that before in my past. But if you've done it really recently and you still have access to a training that you just bought, like follow through on it. The other thing is, and the other caveat I will say is, if you've invested in something like, let's say you've invested in like web design and you're in the process of applying that, and you also want to invest in coaching, that's totally fine. You do have the capacity as long as you decide that you have the capacity to work on both things. I just wouldn't recommend investing in 2 business coaches at the same time, or 2 different types of trainings on time management, or 2 different types of Facebook marketing strategies. There's no reason for you to hop from one process to another. Pick one and decide to make that the process that will work for you. You're the common denominator and you need to get your mind right, because your thoughts are what create your results ultimately. Number 3, when not to invest is when you think that the person or the team or the coach or the service that you're investing in is going to be responsible for creating the results that you want. This is not how investments work. Yes, I, for example, just hired an amazing podcast team. And secretly, when I'm hiring them, my brain is going like, great, now I can just pass off all my stuff to them and I don't have to do anything and it's going to be so great. And what happens the very first week? They're like, okay, perfect. We're going to batch record 4 episodes. I'm like, what? What? No. What do you mean? I thought I was going to have more time and now it's going to be less, right? But the truth is that I decided that I'm responsible for my results. So like whatever the process is, I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do. When I make an investment, I show up and I'm not going to like be like, oh, okay, like it's your job to make this work for me. When I pay someone, I think of it as a partnership always. I'm never abdicating responsibility for any of my results in my business. So I want to make sure that if you're thinking about making a serious investment in your business, you're here for the work. You're here for the results because ultimately you're the one that's responsible for them. Doesn't matter how much you've paid someone. You're the one that has to create the results with your brain. Doesn't mean that you pay someone and then like you have an agreement. And if they don't do what they said that they were going to do, that you don't either fire them or ask for a refund or anything like that. Like, of course, but understand, right? Like that you're still the one that's creating the results. And how are you taking responsibility for that? Or how are you trying to like use the process or something that you didn't expect to as an excuse to not show up and get the results anyway? Okay. So now that we've talked about that, let's talk about when it is time to invest. Rule number 1 for when to invest, not rule really, but you know what I mean? Like one of the ways that you know that it's a smart time to invest is when you've decided that you're going to get the results that you came for, no matter what. So we were just talking about this, kind of like the antidote to number 3 in when not to invest. But if you lose your job, if you get pregnant, if the program is more work or somehow different than you thought, are you still committed to getting the result? If there's a pandemic 2.0 that comes around, are you still committed to paying for the staff that you brought on? If you have a monthly payment, are you committed no matter what? Like that is the type of commitment that I want from you before you go in and you're kind of like, well, how will I know? You just decide. That's the beautiful thing. Like I'm committed to producing the results that are going to allow me to keep on my podcast team and also hire a Facebook ads manager in the new year. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but I've already decided I'm doing it. So I'm not that worried about it anymore, right? It's just like, it just becomes a math problem. But before you can do the math and before you can dive into that action plan, you can't show up to that action consistently if you're in like wavering belief that you're going to be able to keep it up. How much energy does that suck from you every single time you're like, I don't know, is this working for me? Is it not? Am I going to be able to keep this up next month? Should I not? Should I stop? Should I start? It's like exhausting to just be in your brain, right? How are you going to be able to show up and stretch yourself and create even bigger results next month if you're continuing to undermine yourself at every step? So step 1 is before you invest, decide that you're going to come and you're going to get the results that will make this investment worth it. Not that they're going to provide you with the results, but that you're going to get them. That's way more fun and way more empowering. Okay. Number 2, when you've assessed the problem you're solving with this investment, is the top priority or a top priority that will directly grow your revenue or improve your life. So some people I see in the beginning of their business, like look around and they're like, what are you investing in? Oh, like branding photo shoot. Oh, I should do that. What are you investing in? Oh, website person. I should do that. Oh, what are you investing in? This, that, and the other thing. And they're just like investing without really thinking about what the main thing that they need to solve in their business is. And listen, I'll give it to you. If you're scaling from 0 to 100K, There's a lot of things that you need to learn, but initially you just need to get clients. That's it. That's it. Just simplify and get it all. You could make a 6-figure big business without a website. You can have a 6-figure business without social media even. It is about meeting people, offering them your offer and telling them that you can help them. And that's it. That is the simple sauce, right? So I want you to understand, is it the top priority that's going to directly grow your revenue? So primary for me, and again, these are opinions and they're going to trigger some of you, but my opinions for primary investments in your business are organic marketing skills, an assistant, childcare if you have a child, and coaching or mindset. These are things that will always directly affect the amount of money that you're making because A, you make money with your thinking and you are not going to have time if you are unfocused. You're not going to be able to think if you are constantly trying to manage your child or you don't really know. I remember I really struggled with that in the beginning. I was like, can I afford to hire childcare? I don't know. Right now I can't, but do I have to, like, when do you put the cart before the horse? And it wasn't until I was forced into the situation when I had to pay for childcare that all of a sudden my business started to blow up because I had this time and I was like, all right, I got to make it work. And then miraculously, not so miraculously, I was managing my mind in that time. I was doing all the actions. I was all in. I wasn't doing that back and forth thing that I was telling you guys about before. So have you assessed, is it the primary or are you at the place in your business where you're ready for the secondary skills? You've invested in all the primary things. You're at the place and you are hiring the secondary things like other staff, web branding and aesthetics, high level marketing, all of that stuff, right? Number 3, when to invest is you either have too much time and not enough clients or too many clients and not enough time. There's like no other place to be in your business. Either you're in the beginnings of your business and you're like, okay, like I have all this time kind of, and I just don't have any clients. So what am I doing? At that point, you need to do all the primary investing. You need to get good at developing the skills, the organic skills of selling, of marketing, of putting yourself out there, meeting people, making offers, right? And keeping your mindset sharp enough to show up to those consistent places. And then the advanced place is like you have lots of clients and not enough time to deliver at the highest level or to take your business past where you're at. That's when you know. So this third question you need to ask yourself when you're going to invest or not is the cost of not investing in this thing greater than the cost of investing in it? So for me, I was at the place with my podcast where I was like, at this point, I have a full client roster. And if I continue to do every single thing of my podcast myself, I am potentially costing myself thousands and thousands, like potentially if 10 clients came through my podcast, I could make $100,000, right? And that is not happening currently because I'm doing all of this without strategy. Is what I was doing before. And I was like, well, the cost at this point to me is way more to not hire them than it would be to hire them. So I knew, okay, like it's time. And it's the same thing with a coach, right? It's like, if you are finding that you are kind of doing the things and undermining yourself you're constantly getting in your own way, you're trying scheduling, you're not sticking to it, you have no accountability. What are you doing if you don't have a coach? I really just don't understand. For me, like my business exponentially explodes every time I make a new investment or a next level investment in a coach because I just show up, I make a shift every time into this new self-concept, this new mindset of who I am and who I have to be to show up to this and to pay this amount. It's amazing. It's such a great experience and it immediately pays off. So I want you guys to think about those things. If you are deciding about a big investment in your business, ask yourself those questions. And if you're in those categories where you were triggered by one of the things that you shouldn't invest if you're experiencing, there's nothing wrong with you. That's not who you are as a person. It just means you have to do some work on these things. You need to make sure that you're shifting your mindset into deciding you're going to be this person. You just show up for yourself. So you have to start applying and building that trust with yourself by applying the things that you've already invested in. Okay. And then once you've done all of those things and you've decided that you're going to come and get what you came for, come knock on my door. Have a beautiful weekend. Hey Hapsters, if you want to learn more about today's topic, head over to whatshappyning.com/podcast. That's what's happening, whatshappyning.com/podcast. If you're a business owner and you're resonating with what we talk about here, what are you even doing? Come hang out with me over where the party's at on Instagram at What's Happening WJess. Again, that's happy, HAPPYNING, and book a discovery call to see if coaching is your next best step.